It's all clowning around till someone gets hurt. This is Children of Paradise.
Hey, welcome to Seen and Heard.
Bonjour.
It's like Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastard. Buongiorno.
Back again with another French movie.
Another French film. How could this be? Well, we did just do two personal prints. Or, sorry, a personal print and a s'mores.
What do we do here?
Oh, on this podcast, we go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 list. Ping-ponging our way towards the center. This week... What number is this?
This is number 73 on the 2012 list. And it is number 136 on 2022.
So it got bumped off the top 100 on the new list.
Indeed.
I don't know how I feel about that. But this is Marcel Carné's Children of Paradise from 1945. But before we get into this week's film... Oh, also, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
You're Jackie. Before we get into this week's film... what have you been watching lately, Jackie? And I know because our last two episodes, we did not do the what have you been watching segment. So you probably have a whole thing, but
I'm only going to
pick out a few highlights. Yeah.
Yeah. Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Oh my God.
Ugh. So good. It's the DNA of virgin suicides.
It's in my top 4 on Letterboxd.
Oh,
right
it
now.
is.
Yeah.
Wow. What made you make that choice? Because yours changes all the time.
So, yeah, like Midnight Cowboy always stays on there. And then the other 3, I just kind of swap depending on my mood.
Interesting.
And,
Did you watch it recently?
No, I just think about that movie constantly.
It's so good. It is so good. This slow unraveling and mystery and yeah, like I said, it's like the DNA of virgin suicide. So I was bound to love it, I think. I finally watched original cast album Company by D.A. Panabaker. So this was supposed to be a series of TV documentaries, like 1-hour docs, about original cast recordings of several musicals. So they started with Company, which came out in 1970. But they never continued. And there's even a preamble before it starts. This series never continued because one of the producers, I forgot what it says in there, he got hired as a CEO somewhere and it just never happened again. But this is the only one that survives and it was unavailable for a really long time. I don't know why it took me so long to watch this. I'm a huge Sondheim fan. I'm a huge Company fan. I just... I think it only got released last year on Criterion. And the second it was released, I was like, gotta watch this. It's been on my watch list. Never watched it until now. It's incredible. It's so amazing. It just it changed the way I think about people singing on camera, which is so interesting because it's not really about that. It's about how hard it was. First of all, they recorded the entire cast album in one day. I don't know why. I don't know why it had to be like that. They ended at 5 a.m. and then Elaine Stritch had to come in the next day to finish her song because she was just so tired. At 5 a.m. she was so tired and they did all these takes. And of course, Sondheim just passed away. So it was so nice to see him on screen. That was great. Yeah. It's fantastic. I don't know why they had to record everything in one day. But it's really about just the life of the sacrifices of being an artist and those long nights and those long days and striving for perfection. But the way it's shot is just beautiful. It's incredible. I don't know. I loved it.
Wow. I need to see it.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. And then the last one, I can't finish the month of March without one more Isabelle Huppert movie, In Another Country by Hong Sang-soo. Do yourself a favor. If you want a light, thoughtful, hilarious movie shot in a beautiful place, watch this movie. It's really, really good.
Where's it shot?
In Korea, at this resort in Korea by the sea. It's not the resort is so extravagant or anything. It's just this really small beach town, lot of nature and really funny, really, really funny. I was cracking up.
Oh,
yeah. So that's what I've been watching.
You really disciplined. You narrowed it down there a lot.
How many do you have?
I have to be very disciplined here. I revisited Welcome to the Dollhouse, which Molly hadn't seen before. Had been a few years for me. Oh my God, still great. Love that movie. Which just makes me more furious that Happiness is not available anywhere. Can't find it. It's not streaming. You can't pay to rent it anywhere. I guess I could go to Videotheque and rent the DVD, but unavailable, which is a shame because it's such a great movie. Revisited The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, the Terry Gilliam film, and I love that movie because Criterion just did a 4K of it, and they just had the Criterion sale. And God, what a movie. It's so good. Jesus. You just can't make a movie like that now with all these practical special effects and stuff. So good. This one, you will be happy to know, this report. I saw the Richard Gere Breathless, Jackie.
How was it?
You know what?
You like it better.
It's not that I like it better, but it's about on the same level for me.
Interesting.
Like, it's actually very literate, and like it's still about like people that are like wannabe movie characters. Like there's literally a scene where they go behind a movie screen, which is playing the film Gun Crazy, and they go behind the movie screen and like have sex behind the theater screen. So it's like,
what?
There's a lot of great, it's like everything from the Godard one turned up to 11. Like it's very sexual. You see Richard Gere completely naked.
Whoa.
And it's got this great like rock and roll soundtrack, and like they use this Philip Glass song, but like add this like saxophone to it. It's a very audacious movie. They use these like very obvious like rear projection screens for when they're driving, like overly stylized to like make it look like an old movie. Jackie, it's great. Like it's great. It was like I know it has a following, and I was expecting to like it, but I liked it more than I thought I was going to. And I'd put it right up there.
I would so watch it.
And
I love Richard Gere.
I think for the most part too, I would watch it over the Godard one, just because there's, it has 20 years on that one, and Richard Gere's like a fan of like the Silver Surfers. He keeps reading like comic books throughout the movie, and he's listening to like Little Richard and stuff. I really dug it. And then last I'll say, two more very quickly. I saw a movie called Martin, the George A. Romero film, which is about from the 70s, very cheap, small movie about a serial killer who also kind of thinks that he's a vampire because his family, this very superstitious family, are convinced that he's a vampire. But it's this very, very enclosed, actually beautifully done character study, which I liked a lot. And then last, I know we talked about this briefly, but the other night I saw The Great Escape for the first time with Steve McQueen. Molly and I watched it, and she was like, I want to watch a movie and I just want to be like entertained. I was like, me too. And so we put it on. It's a 3-hour movie, and boy, you get sucked into that immediately. And the 3 hours just fly by. Wow. And I mean, I love prison escape movies, and this one was kind of the ultimate. Mm-hmm. You don't need me to come on here and tell you how great The Great Escape is, but yeah, it was great. It's nice. Truly great. Like watching a film like that where it's like nuts and bolts filmmaking, you're like, this is why I love movies in the first place, is because of movies like this. Like seeing movies like this growing up, it's just a no fuss, like this is a piece of entertainment with like an all-star cast, and it's just done so well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to watch it.
It's great.
It's been on there.
Well, let's just jump into this week's film now.
Yeah. It's been on there. I will say it's been on there since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Because they do the whole thing where Rick Dalton was supposed to have been in Great Escape. Yeah. So from 1945, this is Marcel Carné's Children of Paradise.
Children of Paradis was released in 1945. It was directed by Marcel Carné, written by Jacques Prévert, cinematography by Roger Hubert and Philippe Agostini. Music by Joseph Cosma. The film tells the story of the many lovers of Garance, a courtesan in 1830s Paris on the Boulevard of Crime, a street nicknamed for the melodramas that played nightly in its many theaters. Lacenaire is a criminal/playwright who, despite claiming he has no attachments to anyone, is kind of in love with Garance. One day on the street, he pickpockets a watch and flees, while Garance is blamed for the crime. Baptiste, a pantomime who saw the whole incident, silently recreates the scene for the police, and she is released, falling instantly in love with her in the process. He even gets her a place at the boarding house he lives in and a job at the mime-only theater he works at, the Funambule. Frederick is a charismatic actor who gets his start at the Funambule, but dreams of doing serious plays. He and Garance start an affair, much to the chagrin of Baptiste. Meanwhile, the rich Count Edward has fallen in love with Garance and offers her protection and comfort. Several years later, Frederick is the most famous actor on the boulevard and starring in Othello. Garance has returned from abroad with Edward and realizes she is in love with Baptiste, who is now married to his co-star, the devoted Natalie. The Count challenges Frederick to a duel because he thinks Garance is in love with him. Lacenaire, secretly and perhaps subconsciously jealous, threatens the Count and reveals that Garance is cuckolding him with Baptiste. The next day, he kills the Count in cold blood and calmly awaits arrest. After a night spent together, Natalie walks in on Baptiste and Garance. Garance flees into the crowded streets and Baptiste follows her, getting swallowed by the crowd and losing the woman of his dreams. The film stars Arletty as Garance, Jean-Louis Barrault as Baptiste Debureau, Pierre Brasseur as Frederick, and Marcel Errand as Lacenaire. So Baptiste, Frederic, Lacenaire are all based on real historical figures from the time. Count Edward is fictional but inspired by a famous statesman. We talk about torrid production histories all the time on the podcast, but this just might take the cake as it was literally made in the middle of the Nazi occupation of France. It took 3 years of off-again, on-again shooting from 1943 to 1945 to complete the film. There was a total of 1,800 extras, most of which were French resistance fighters hiding out. And even on set, they had to hide from Nazis or Vichy officials who were placed there to oversee the production. Joseph Cosma was Jewish, and the set designer, Alexandre Troner, was also Jewish, and they had to work in secret on the film. Isn't that crazy? And Joseph Cosma had like a stand-in as the composer because they couldn't say that he was the composer of the movie.
Right.
There were storms that destroyed many of the sets. War rationing meant less film and supplies. The Nazis closed down production for 3 months. The Nazis closed down production for 3 months when they found out that one of the producers had some distant Jewish ancestry. Financing was a big issue, obviously. The cinematographer had to be switched out in between of a few of those long breaks because he had another job. And then after the Allies landed in Normandy, the production was shut down, but apparently intentionally so that the film could be finished and released after French liberation. The actor who originally played Jericho, you know that like guy, I don't know what he's like a peddler.
Yeah.
His name was Robert Le Vigan, and he was tried after the liberation for being a Nazi collaborator and sentenced to death, and he had to flee, so all of his scenes had to be reshot with Pierre Renoir, who is Jean Renoir's older brother. In 1945, Arletty was imprisoned for her romantic relationship with a German officer, and she apparently said this about the incident: "My heart is French, but my ass is international." Do you know about this horizontal collaboration? This whole kind of, it's a really dark part. I mean, like dark, I guess, depending on who you ask, but basically all these French women who had affairs with German officers during the occupation, they were like shunned and their heads were shaved and they were like mocked in the streets. It's kind of like in
Les Mis.
Not exactly. I was gonna say Hiroshima Mon Amour.
Oh yes.
It was like that. So she was actually, a lot of women weren't like charged with treason. They were just shamed, but they couldn't do that because she was like an actress. So she was actually charged with treason and imprisoned for 18 months at a chateau.
Wow.
In 1945. I think after the movie came out.
Imprisoned
still.
at a chateau.
Yeah, because she's an actress. The film is divided into 2 parts because a 3-hour-long film could only be screened half the amount of times as a standard length feature could be. So it was sold as this fake double feature. So like it would be like you go to see the movie, but they would sell it as here's part 1, here's part 2, so that they could charge double the amount.
Wow.
Part 1 is called Boulevard of Crime. Part 2 is The Man in White. And I love, did you notice how the credits happen all over again in the second movie?
Yeah, it's literally like a second
they're selling
film.
It. Yeah. It was an instant success in both France and internationally. It ran at the Madeleine Theater for 54 weeks, and it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars. Whew, those are my specs.
Wow.
I also do want to point out that the title, Children of Paradise, so Paradise, and you can even tell when you're watching it, whenever they refer to the high seats in the theater, those nosebleed seats, the cheap seats for the common people, they refer to that as Paradise, which in the subtitle, though, they were translating it to like in the gods, because that's the British term for that area. So really, Children of Paradise, they're talking about the seats up there. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool. Wait, and what's the original French title? Because you can pronounce it. I can't.
L'Enfant du Paradis.
That's one of the most beautiful French titles I've ever heard.
Or is it it's Les Enfants du Paradis? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wait, let me go back. My French teacher will kill me. What's the French title? It's Les Enfants du Paradis.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's nice. It is nice.
Yeah. Well, you covered the specs there, I think. I can't really think of anything else to add.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts?
Nicely done. Initial thoughts. This is my second time seeing Children of Paradise. I want to say I first saw this about 10 years ago, which I feel like I say this about so many films on this podcast. Because it was it was my early to mid 20s, which is where I was just like going through everything. And the Criterion Blu-ray for this. So I remember the local record store had a Criterion section, and the small town I grew up in, the small suburb I grew up in, like I'm thankful for that, because that's where my film education really took off, was the fact that the store had a Criterion section. And I remember seeing the DVD cover of this all the time. So I knew of the movie. And when I think it was in 2011, Criterion put the Blu-ray out. So I heard it was a great film, bought the Blu-ray. Nothing has changed. Bought the Blu-ray and watched it and really, really liked it. I think it sat on my shelf for a couple years just because it was like over 3 hours long. But when I sat down with it, I really liked it. So, but it was a long time ago now. We're talking 8, 9, 10 years ago. So sitting down for this episode, I was curious to see how I was going to feel about it.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think I think there's something about this. There's a intro by Terry Gilliam on the disc, and he says something like, back when movies used to be made like big Hollywood, like when poetic movies were made as like big Hollywood or big budget movies. Obviously, this is not Hollywood, but I so agree. Like it is this immense production, because that whole street of the Boulevard of Crime is a set, because it's the 19th century, 18th century, 19th century,
1830s.
Okay, so yeah, 19th century. So like it is this big recreation of a bygone world, and even then it's this kind of like dream version of it. It's this almost fairy tale version of it. And so yes, the production is immense, the running time is immense, although we've covered longer films on this podcast before.
People compared it to, like, they said that it was the French answer to Gone with the Wind.
Oh, and I like it so much more than Gone with the Wind. Yeah, I think the thing about this movie is it is an engrossing novelistic character ensemble. Like, it feels lived in. You feel like you really get to know these people. You get to see people rise and fall, and love's lost and hearts broken, and it's one big just melodrama in the way I think only the French can do too, because it's like you have the mime and it's like the Baptiste. It's so kind of operatic and people flip. Like in the beginning, you hate Lessenaire. Like you're like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
And by the end,
I still say fuck this guy.
Also interesting. I got gay vibes from him because Marcel Carné was openly gay.
I think I get more gay vibes from
Baptiste. I don't know. I think maybe there's a kind of fluidity written
definitely
into this that again, it's the 40s.
I wait till mine.
And it's Nazi occupied France.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And so I think there's a lot of nuance to these characters. And I really, really dig it. I think it's really engrossing. I think once the movie kind of gets going and you're introduced to each of the characters and their stories begin, it is like really engrossing. And I think because all the characters in the film are so passionate about something. What's his name? The guy who becomes the big actor. What's his name? The character's name? Frederic. Yeah. He has this line in the beginning too. He's like, it's my destiny to resuscitate the great men of this earth.
There's great lines in this.
Yeah. So everyone wants something so deeply. Yeah. Baptiste wants Garance and Frederic wants to be this great actor. And like, I think that it just makes it such a joy to watch because everyone is in it so fully. And for me, the runtime goes quickly. I think just because it's so involving. So yeah, I love it. How about you?
So a lot of moments, this is my first time seeing it. A lot of moments were amazing and very innovative, I thought. I love all the pantomime scenes. Like you said, I think the characters for the most part are very alive and very nuanced. However, my biggest problem is that Garance just isn't. Like, she is not at all. I thought the actress was pretty blank.
Are you throwing Arletty under the bridge?
A little bit. The character has some great lines, but overall, I think this movie's a little male gazy. I know he's gay, but it's just like she doesn't really do much at all or show us that much about herself, and it's this mixture of like story and acting. I think I don't want to blame it completely on her or completely on the story itself, but it's about like it's all this like conquest. Like even in the description it's like, oh, he failed to conquest her, and these two girls who are just like fawning over Frederic, and like the manager of the building, who is the mom from Day in the Country, just like all over him.
Oh my God, it is the mom from Day in the Country.
But I will say, in terms of the females in the movie, Natalie is really interesting to me. And I'll talk about her later.
She's the one in love with Baptiste.
Yes, more on her later. I thought it was a little too long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just failed to see how all of these guys pursuing her ties in with this idea of like entertainment and the common man and theatricality. Like I love all that stuff about it. I love everything it has to say about actors and artists and all of that. But I just don't feel like the love story itself or the characters, when catering to that love story, are like fit in with that. Do you get what I mean? Like I guess it is like melodrama itself, but I do like it. I think it has a lot going for it. I might like it better on a second viewing. The cinematography, the dialogue, amazing, really witty. I love sad clowns. And like you said, there's no way an American movie would allow its male lead to be in lipstick for most of the movie. Mm-hmm. And I loved that about it. I was like, this is amazing. Like he's a mime and he's like in love. I don't know. I really liked it.
I mean, you have the Chaplin stuff, but he's not in lipstick.
Yeah. I love the opening, and it's clear the influence this has had on Moulin Rouge.
Oh yes,
in
absolutely.
terms of story, and also that curtain opening,
big time.
But yeah, it's just this. She's just so blank. Like if I can't understand why all these men love her, I don't understand why all these men love her. Like I don't know. That's my problem with it.
No, I hear you. I think it's valid, but I would argue the point is that she's almost this blank slate. She's this unobtainable,
maybe
like mysterious blank slate, and everyone's kind of projecting onto her what they want her to be.
Yeah, for sure. And she gets wants called to out love at the on end. Her own terms, I guess.
Yeah. Who calls her out at the end?
Natalie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing.
That's an incredible scene. I should have written down exactly what she says, but
I have some of it.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
She basically tells her like, you
leave and you come back.
And
do
you
want
make
me to
you
read
make
it now?
yeah, maybe read it
Okay,
now.
I'll
She's
read
like,
it
you
now.
make yourself missed, and so like, and I think that's the whole point of the Garance character is like she is this.
You go,
Yeah.
you're missed, time works for you, then you come back, embellished by memory. Embellished by memory.
Exactly.
So good. Yeah.
No, she completely gets her. That is Garance. Like,
And I get it, but they're all just chasing empty sex. Like that's not
Sure.
like that interesting or related to this theatricality to me.
I
Like,
think it is
don't
because
know.
there's something about actors, especially in theater, where it is this incestuous, like, you know, everyone gets involved with each other and everyone's sleeping with other people, and because they're actors, their emotions are so big, and so each relationship, each fling is this huge thing because they're going all in.
Yeah,
So
I get that.
Right. I mean, I think it's an inherent part of like theatrical troops is like this romantic, obsessive kind of thing. Crushes.
Yeah, but then you have like the Count, which is very the Duke from Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
And then even like Lacenaire, like he's not really in this like playwright. It's so funny how he's a gangster, but his cover is that he's a public scribe. Like that's so funny.
Writing letters for people who can't do so themselves.
Yeah. I don't know. And I'll talk about this. Like I love all the things it has to say about acting and actors and wanting to move people. And that's so interesting to me. And then it's just like, this Garance thing is just like the whole movie. And I'm like, I want more. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I get that she's not that inherently interesting, but it's the way that everyone else is reacting to her.
But
because
why?
everyone is falling for her. Like she's either loved or she's hated. Like Natalie hates her because of the emotions she stirs in the people around her.
Bitch. That's why I like her.
No, she's not.
I don't know if she hates her. She's just like, I love what she says at the end, where she's like, I don't care how you feel about him. Like, go away. Like, I'm talking to you, Baptiste. Do you remember that? Like, she's not a bitch. She doesn't hate
She's not
her.
a bitch. No, I mean, she's a big threat. Garance is a big threat to Natalie.
Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Listen, I really like the movie. I think that it's an amazing movie, but it's not personally for me.
Wait, that's contradictory. Like, what would you rate this if you were forced to give it a rating
on Letterboxd?
Sure, because I did a 4.5 out of 5.
I know it deserves high, but for me personally,
do your personal rating.
I would probably give it like 3.5.
Interesting. Low. That's low for Jackie.
That is low for me. It didn't do it for me. Like certain things did do it for me really well. The pantomime, amazing. But other things, I don't know. It's what I just said. I don't know. I just need more. I can get behind men fall. Like, it's just all about, I love her. No, I love her. No, I love her. And it's like, what is she? Literally, I don't know.
Right. Well, I think it's the way that men prescribed this, like, again, this they're creating their dream woman out of Garance. Like,
yeah,
she becomes this like
yeah
conduit.
Yeah. Let's talk about the amazing first shot.
Yes.
Oh my God.
The curtain opens and we get this like crane shot of the boulevard of crime.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you even get one following it with like the weightlifter. You know how it like it's on the weightlifter. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. It's
I think the cinematography is really, really spot on and incredible.
I have to say though, I'll keep this very brief, but the restoration that was done by Pathé, I believe in 2011, is unfortunate because at least on the Criterion, they've scrubbed out all the grain from the image. I know that the negative was lost or something. It's
very soft.
It's very waxy.
Yeah.
And films shouldn't look like that. Like there's literally no grain in this movie.
Right,
so they went in. I don't think it was Criterion. I think it was Pathé. They went in and they literally scrubbed all the grain from the movie. So it almost looks digital. And it's really unfortunate
soft around the edges.
Hopefully it gets an upgrade at some point because it deserves better.
Yeah. I love like the backstage pan.
Oh yeah.
I love any good like backstage panning shot. Did you notice the flock of birds, like the women dressed as birds?
No, but I bet you did because you love birds so much.
You didn't notice them?
No.
Well, no, Frederic goes up to them and is like, oh, acting is such a great profession, right? And one of them goes, it would be if they paid us better, if they fed us properly.
Right.
And they fly away. It reminded me of Moonrise Kingdom.
Wait, they fly away?
Not fly. They're in bird costumes and they just like flutter away.
I guess I forgot they were in bird costumes.
It's very Moonrise
Wait, are
Kingdom.
they flapping their arms?
No, they're just running away.
I think it just stuck with you because it's birds and you have such a thing.
No, it reminded me of Moonrise Kingdom. People in bird costumes. And then you have a bunch of like these pans up the theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all the shots in the gods or in the Paradis.
Yeah. The nosebleeds.
Those are great. There's an amazing match on action. Did you notice this?
Which one?
It's like when Natalie is talking to Baptiste the first time and we're here, right? We're on the left. And then like she kneels down and then we're like on the right, but it's really close up. Not really close up, but like much more close up. Anyway, it was just a really cool shot.
It didn't stick out to me.
I wonder why.
I wonder too.
I love the first time you see Baptiste without makeup on because it kind of holds a little bit. Like it doesn't immediately show you him. Him and Frederic are getting drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And did you notice that? It's like, oh my God, like I want to see Baptiste. I want to see Baptiste without makeup on. And it really holds on Frederic a little longer than it should before it shows you Baptiste.
Oh, sure. That's where they're at that stall, that like bar stall. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's appropriate because I think
I liked it.
I
liked it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think in another film, Baptiste would be, you almost would never see him without his makeup or something like that, which would be a move. You could go that way too. I like too that the fact that they don't make Baptiste into this tragic character. I mean, ultimately it kind of is because, I mean, he is. But like we were talking off mic, I guess we should hold some of these conversations for when we're actually recording. But we were talking about La Strada, the Fellini film, and the Richard Basehart character, the fool in that film, is like the literal sad clown, like weak. He's not well respected, and ultimately, spoilers if you haven't seen La Strada, but Zampano, the Anthony Quinn character, just like beats him up and it kills him because he's so weak, and that's the sad end to the fool in that film. Baptiste in Children of Paradise is much more like he's well respected, he's charming, like women love him, like people love him. Oh, was he a real mime?
So the three main guys are real people.
Oh, cool.
It was one of my specs.
I thought you meant for a second that the actor would.
No. They are real. They're based on real people from the 1830s.
Right. Yeah, I thought you meant that the actor was because he's really convincing.
Totally. Yeah, and his dad is his mime teacher. Like, was the actor's mime teacher.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean, I love Baptiste's character introduction. Like, it's kind of a perfect way to introduce
on the street.
Him on the street, acting out the like, I love how no one questions that this mime's like testimony was just like, they're like, that's
the
what
cops.
happened. That's the witness.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. And then the flower.
The flower. No,
I love his character intro. And like I said, I love how he's kind of tender and like, I don't want to say fragile, but he kind of is.
He is. There's a line. There's literally a line where Lassonniere is like, he's talking about like maybe killing Baptiste, and he's like, one might as well stab at a breeze or a moonbeam.
Yeah. What's that guy's deal? What is
I don't know, but how about his curls?
Yeah, it's not. That
was almost my favorite sight, was just the curls in his hair.
They're hilarious. I don't really get him though. Like why is he a murderer?
I don't know. He's just one of those, very French
misanthropes. I don't know. He confused me a little bit. Like, why was he at the Count's house? Like, I get it. He like unconsciously, subconsciously loves her, I guess, even though he said like he doesn't want any attachments. I don't know. He kind of confused me a bit. But no, I want to go back to talking about like, because I'm so fascinated by this, is just the way people shoot stages and like performances on stage. I think the opening is great. I love that curtain. Did you notice the curtain isn't a curtain though?
It's like drawn or something.
Yeah. It's so funny. Even in the theater, in the movie, it's the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's strange.
I think it was just like easier to do that.
I mean, there was a Nazi occupation. But
Yeah.
but I really love, there's one shot where it's like, I forget what show it is, which of the many shows, but it's like from the audience in the back, not at the top, but it's literally the POV of someone sitting like kind of towards the back of the theater. And I really, really loved that. And I love that. Oh my God. I love like the close up of his feet when he's doing the stage walking.
Twinkle toes?
Yeah, it's not twinkle toes.
I know, I'm
it's
just
like
kidding.
fake walking.
Yeah.
But I love the way that the movie like highlights these stage techniques.
I actually thought that was almost too much.
I loved that.
Because you're talking about the scene where Baptiste pretends to be walking to like
and
the right hand side
of his feet,
and all the scenery behind him is moving as if he's actually walking through an environment. I almost thought that the close up of his feet was like,
I loved it.
Like we know what's going on.
No, I love it. Yeah. I also love the horse. You know, like towards the end, the scene with the horse and carriage coming in on stage and fake horse.
Yeah.
Do you not like that either?
No, I like that. Yeah.
What about the shadows? It's like Haunted Mansion. The people dancing.
Oh
inside.
The inside shadows, the fake house behind him on the stage. Yeah.
See, I love those little like tricks.
Less
those, like,
so
theater things.
Less so Haunted Mansion, more so Home Alone.
Yeah, you're right. But let's talk about this idea of the gods and the people up there, like the working class people that get the cheap tickets. So like they're not allowed to do plays in that theater because that's reserved for the grand theater.
Right. There's a very class thing. Like
there's a big class thing going on.
This main theater is literally like the low brow.
So what I'm saying though is like, what does this class thing have to do with Garance at all?
Well, because she goes from one to the other.
Who?
Garance. Like she starts as a performer at this like pantomime theater, and then she marries this like duke and becomes wealthy.
They're not married. No, but I know they're she's like his mistress.
Yeah,
but
he like whisks her away.
I mean, I guess.
And look what she's wearing when she returns. Like she's wealthy. She's wearing this really beautiful clothes and carries herself in a different way,
more formal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah,
that's great. That didn't clock with me.
No, I like. It's just so funny. One thing I really love, I love too the way that the theater is shot, like because the theater is very narrow. Like the seats, like the theater itself is not very wide.
I know.
And so you have this very tall, narrow theater that is probably historically accurate. But also, like again, I think that there is this like fairy tale component to this movie, and I don't think it's trying to be like 100% accurate, even though it takes place in like 1830s. I think it's 1830s.
The Les Mis era.
Yeah, exactly. Les Mis. So, no, and I love too the way that Carné lets these scenes unfold, because we really get a feel for Baptiste's performances.
Yes,
as we get a feel for Frédéric's show too.
So I love Baptiste's performance. Like I love when he's in love and then thriving and coming up with these sad stories.
Yeah.
The one where he's like gonna hang himself,
yeah,
but keeps getting interrupted. I love that one.
Yeah.
I also love with Frédéric when he improvises the play and then like jumps in that box when he makes a fool out of like the playwrights a little bit, but everyone loves it.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, like, he's ridiculous, and he's the audacity he has is like off the charts. But the truth is, their script probably sucked. It's probably run of the mill. Like his instinct is right.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just wills it into this other play.
I love that.
And they're so pissed that they want to duel him.
Yeah. And the two writers who talk in unison are hilarious.
They do everything in unison, because there's a scene when they're rehearsing that play, and Frédéric does something off book, and then they both stand up at the same time, out of their seats,
those
like in outrage.
The movie's funny.
It is funny.
I love when someone yells, they're like, "We can't hear the pantomime."
Oh yeah.
It's funny.
Can we bring back in everyday life people demanding satisfaction as a way to duel someone? Like, imagine being in a bar in Silver Lake and being like, "I demand satisfaction."
Yeah.
And going out back with someone with a pistol, and an old fashioned pistol.
Let's not bring that back. I vote no. But yeah, I love the theater environment itself. Like I love the families, those two like troops of actors who are fighting, and then Frédéric has to take over.
Oh yeah.
And then even you have like Baptiste's dad, who's like the ultimate stage mom, but also ham of an actor himself.
Yeah.
He's like family of prodigies, but only when Baptiste is like doing well, right?
Yeah. It reminds me of just a lot of like father son like, for example, this is just the first one I can think of, but like Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki has a son named Goro. And when Goro started directing for Ghibli, Miyazaki was like pissed. Like didn't want him to because he didn't think that his son was up to a certain level that Ghibli needed, and he didn't want.
Yikes, I didn't know that.
I don't even know if they talk actually. There's a weird thing
really
between them.
sad.
Yeah, maybe it's fine, but at least for a while there was like this weird tension. And I think it's like the master actor in this case, like his son, who he doesn't quite think is ready yet, because he's mad when they want to put Baptiste on the stage originally. He's like, no.
Yeah.
And then when he's a success, then
he goes, the son is worthy of his father.
Yeah. No, it is this. I think it's this. I think
that's
school,
really interesting.
Yeah. About like not embarrassing yourself, and like the craft is life.
Yes. And I love when Frederic is trying to justify like he can play the lion, and he's like, yeah, I was in Gulf of Lions, Richard the Lion-Hearted, Pygmalion, but it's like a lion.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. It's funny. It's witty. Listen, I like this movie a lot. It's just like I have a major problem with it.
But wait, your major problem is Garance.
And that this whole plot line exists of them wanting her.
Yeah, but I think that's cool. I think it's like a cool, clean way to kind of like unfold all this drama. It all comes, she's the center of the universe of this like small theater world.
I don't know. I love what someone says. I think it's Lassonere says this to Frederic about you make hearts beat every night at the same hour.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
That's a beautiful, beautiful line about theater.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I love too the way that Baptiste and Frederic love each other. Like in the second part where they come back, and
I love
each of them admits,
no quarrel or anything.
They're like, "Oh, I've seen you a bunch of times."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, you've seen me. I've seen you. I really love what you do."
And then Lassonere himself is like a playwright, so that's why he doesn't kill Frederic. And like some things I was reading online was that it gets flipped. Like Frederic starts in comedy, but then wants to do tragedy. But then Lassonere is so against tragedy, but in the second act, right? Because he always says like tragedy's not the genre for me.
Farce, yeah.
Yeah, I like farce. But then in the second act, he literally commits a murder.
Yeah. That's cool.
So that's interesting. But yeah, I don't like. Do you think Lassonere like loves her, or what? Like, why does he kill him?
I think that Lassonere is attracted to Frederic.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would he kill? Oh, to save Frederic.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I think it.
What?
I was going to say it explains the curls, but I was just kidding. That's a bad joke. Not the curls, but the
swirling hair.
He's like, look, because this film uses this word. He's a dandy.
Yeah.
Even though they use the word dandy to describe the Duke.
He's not a Duke, he's a Count. Duke
he's a
is
Count.
From Moulin Rouge.
Sorry, I'm getting it mixed. Are they the same movie practically?
There's a lot of... But Moulin Rouge works so much better for me. Like, it's kind of the same movie, but so much better.
Well...
Plot-wise.
I like the plot more in this. I think the appeal of Moulin Rouge is the music and the spectacle. I think in this film, this is like a more interesting story. There's more moving pieces, and I think
it's an epic. Moulin Rouge isn't really an epic.
No, but I think they are very similar. And I bet if you asked Baz Luhrmann about this movie, I'm sure it's one of his favorite movies, and I'm sure it was like the biggest touchstone for Moulin Rouge. But I think Moulin Rouge works because of the music and the spectacle, and I think this film, and it's great at that. We love the movie. You can listen to our episode on it. This movie is thoughtful. And it's like there's just all the care. It's such an ensemble thing because I think in Moulin Rouge you don't really care.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't care about people outside
different.
of the two of them.
But my thing is like, okay, Baptiste loves her, right? She's also like, if we're talking about Moulin Rouge, like a creature of the night, right? And so is he.
Right.
But like this whole thing in Moulin Rouge is that he's not really part of this world, but then wants to be part of this world, and like she's the way in. But like Garance is nothing. Like she's not. She's literally
everyone. But she's everything that everyone subscribes to her.
But she's not part of the world. She's not an actor. She's not an actress. She's not a singer. She's nothing. Like,
no, but that's the point, though.
I don't know.
It's so interesting. I feel like usually when we have a film that one of us doesn't like that much, it's always me. Is it weird for the tables to be flipped where I really like it and you're like, no, not really?
I like it.
Oh, I know.
There's so much going for it.
Yeah.
It's this big, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know when you have like a splinter?
Yeah, there's a splinter for you in your thumb.
Yeah, and I want to pull it out somehow.
So was this movie, were you engaged throughout the 3 hours, or did it kind of lose you at parts?
It kind of lost me at parts.
When?
I think it's also because I had to watch it in different parts.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've just been really, really busy. I think that has to do with it. I wouldn't mind sitting and watching this again. And I will. I know I will. Because I love the way I love the, I don't know, the one-liners in this are so good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things it says about theater are so beautiful. And just these, truths about everyday life I really love. I love when Baptiste says, the moon is my homeland. What? That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then there's a few others, even Garance, these truisms. Someone says, Garance one time, she says, a girl who grows up fast isn't alone very long.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
She has another one. When she's talking to Frederic, their relationship is kind of on the outs, their affair. And she goes, if you thought I was happy, would you try so hard to amuse me? That is a truism. That's, I don't know. I love that. And I also love, I didn't talk about the shot. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. But remember when he comes to her room at night and it's one shot of her at the window?
The first time they're together?
Yes, yeah. Frederic. And she turns because he's there at the door and you see him enter.
It's like that shot from Love.
Which one?
Because we just did Gaspar Noé's Love.
Which one?
Because they're in different apartments in the same thing, but on a corner, and they see each other through the window, and then the other person comes through the front door.
Yes.
It's actually the same thing.
But you don't see him come through the front door in Love, do you?
I thought.
I don't think
or
so.
maybe it just cuts to them having sex.
Yeah. Does, yeah. That's a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
But no, I that's what I'm saying. I don't want to say I don't like this movie. I don't love this movie.
It's so funny because while I was watching it, I was like, oh, Jackie's eating this up right now.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like,
there's a lot to eat up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think let's compare these two for a second here to a Bergman film, because Bergman also grew up in the theater, and a lot of his films are about a theatrical family, theatrical troupe, life in the theater.
Yeah.
But this film is so different in tone from, say,
it's more
Fanny and Alexander, or I'm trying to think of another one. It was the magic flute. I don't know. I'm thinking of the really theatrical. Anyway, it's a theme in a lot of his films.
Well, a lot of the people in his movies are actors, but in terms of family of actors, I mean, Fanny and Alexander takes the cake.
Yeah. But yeah, in the way that Bergman's theaters are a magical and dark place.
Yeah.
I guess spoiler alert too if you haven't seen Fanny and Alexander. We won't. Well, I won't say. It's okay. But something bad happens at a rehearsal for Fanny and Alexander, where I think the theater in Children of Paradise is a true sort of people are only living when they're on the stage.
Yeah.
Everything else takes a back seat to
but then you have the whole duel section, which I actually really like.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know.
Look, people just dueled back then, Jackie.
But I think it's this thing about the women too. Like I said, those women who are fawning over Frederic, and then the manager of the house who's just waiting to sleep with him, and I don't know. It's just
but look,
the mom.
She's a middle-aged matronly woman,
I get it.
Frederic
I
comes in
that she has sexuality, but it's just the women in this are just very one-dimensional, except Natalie. But even Natalie is this devoted person to him, completely engrossed and in love with him. But I think she's really interesting, where I don't think anyone else is interesting. Okay, I think it's time to talk about Natalie now.
Okay, yeah. Because you're right. It's a boy's story.
It kind of is. Maybe that's my problem.
But I think too, look at all the Renoir films. They're all about men.
And I don't like them that much.
I think too, it's just a product of its time.
Totally. I don't know. But Natalie's impressive because she's never annoying. Mm-hmm. It would be very easy to make this the annoying, nagging person who's in love with him. First of all, the actress who plays her is incredible. Her name is Maria Cassar. She's this very famous French-Spanish stage actress, and you can tell she's miles above everyone, I think.
You think? Miles above?
Miles above Garance, at least.
Well, sure, but
I don't want to hate on her. I feel bad. But
I think the guy that plays Frederic and the guy that plays
they're
Baptiste
great.
are
No,
great.
no. They're great. I meant Garance, really. Also, the theater manager, her dad, Natalie's dad, he is hilarious.
Yeah, he's great.
And so
he docks people their pay for
and
talking on stage.
He's like, I'm in charge, except after God, of course. Like he's like hilarious. I don't know, there's something about, I love when she's looking at him. The first time they have a private scene and she looks at him and she's like, you're shining, Baptiste. And that like really touched me. I don't know why. Like, what a thing to say to someone, for a woman to say that to a man, like, you're shining. I just thought that was like, I don't know, it gave me like goosebumps. She's like fawning over him, but it's more like she doesn't expect him to reciprocate. Like, she says, I wish you loved me, but she's not pushy about it. Right? Like, do you get that vibe?
I don't know.
Maybe it's just the performance. Like, she's like sad and quiet.
Yeah.
More than like, love me. Why don't you love me? It's more just like.
The first scene we meet her, or the scene with her and Baptiste, she is kind of like, why? Like, I wish you loved me. Everyone's passionate.
I wish you loved me, but she's not like, what can I do? I'll do anything for you. Like, I don't know. I just thought she's really interesting.
Yeah, she is.
And I love when she's in the end, she's just like, just tell me, like, I need to know if it's worth it for me to live. Like, she's not saying like, tell me or I'm going to kill myself. It's just like, she's more selfless than some of these like prototypical woman, like hopelessly in love with a man. She's more selfless.
She's practical too, I think.
Yeah. I think she kills herself in the end.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Why would they emphasize that open window so much?
Oh, yeah, good point, actually.
I think she kills herself.
I love when she comes into the room and Baptiste and Garance are together, and she's like, "Someone say something, like you owe me that." That's so good.
It's so good. And he says Natalie, and she's like, "That's all you can say, really?" Like, she says, like, "Tell me anything. I just don't want it to be silent. Like, tell me to get out of here." That's what I mean when she's like selfless almost.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I thought she was really incredible, and I thought her performance was really incredible.
God, imagine
where Garance was so one-sided and so blank.
Yeah, but again, because she's the center of this universe, she's what makes all the spokes go around. They all orbit around her. She's the sun in the planet's orbit.
Not worth it.
And the sun is unknowable, Jackie. The sun is unknowable.
Maybe it's because I'm not a guy. I don't know.
I think too. She's so sad, because imagine marrying a person and having a child with them, knowing that the only reason they're with you is because the person they truly love left.
No, it breaks my heart. She's Eponine.
Yeah, totally. I think she knew that this day was coming.
I know.
And that scene where she sends the child up to the box.
That's so good.
Oh my God.
That's a really good scene.
Yeah.
And that's the only scene where I saw Garance and I felt bad for her, because she was like, I'm all alone in the world.
Yeah, she insists on calling the count her friend.
Yeah.
Instead of lover or sweetie or
sweetie.
Bae.
Honey bunny.
Hey, bae.
But let's talk about the end. First of all, I love how the second chapter is called The Man in White.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of Baptiste, but then also at the end, all of those people dressed in the mime costume.
Oh, yeah, sure.
In the carnival. So did you know that the mime, like the stock mime character, is named Pierrot?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's just like, like, I don't know. It's like the Tramp. It's like Chaplin's like Tramp.
Right. That's where the Godard title comes from.
Pierrot Le Fou. Yeah. But I love that ending. I love the ending. That crowd.
I love it too, because it doesn't. I guess you're right about the open window and Natalie. That's interesting. I like that. I like that it just kind of ends, because it's interesting in the way that, first of all, I love that the first half of the film, I know Gilliam pointed this out too in his intro, the first half of the film is busy and it's moving and it's kind of introducing all these things and the camera's moving and all this stuff's happening. And the second half of the film, the second part, is much more restrained and you're just kind of watching. I think when you come back in part two, you're just watching like Frederic, like on
being
stage and being successful, and the camera's just kind of there, it's planted there, and you're just like watching it unfold. So it slows down a lot in that second part. where was I going with this? Oh, just in the end that, you know, you've jumped forward. I think the second part jumps forward 6 or 7 years. Yeah. So the fact that like they could very well meet again, Garance could come back and Baptiste, but we don't get that. And it just kind of ends. And it's like on a tragic note, but it's not as tragic as it could be of just like she's leaving again. He's ruined his family for this one night with her.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, if Natalie didn't kill herself, she'd probably go back to him, sadly.
You think so? She didn't. You're right.
Hopelessly devoted.
She didn't seem upset as she could have been, I think.
She was more just like really hurt. Yeah, I mean,
I think she's in shock too.
I'm shocked, and I think she killed herself personally. But yeah, he throws away his family, and it's like I did try to like make connections to the theater, and it's like the only moments where he isn't able to act is when like someone mentions Galance's name or like he sees her. And I think that that's interesting because it's almost the reversal of like the show must go on type of thing. It's like, no, he literally can't act if she's around. Like he can't do his thing. Whereas Frederic, like he's obsessed with acting. That's his thing. But like Baptiste is more sensitive, I guess. And ruins his family and his career, possibly.
I would argue just that I think that him freezing up whenever she's there and him like literally leaving the stage is like a little too much.
It is. It kind of is.
Like you could instead just show him like fumble the performance a little bit and not just like leaving.
Right. When he leaves, that's bad.
Because he's like a consummate professional.
Right. So I was a little surprised at that. I'm like, it's usually like the other way around. Like they're hurt, but then they give like an amazing performance because like they love acting so much. But with him, it's kind of like, no, this like floors him. And for what? For who? That is my question.
For the one night with her. Which he does get.
But I love when Natalie calls out his name. You know, when he like kind of freezes on stage during the hanging one and she like gets really scared and yells out his name. That scene I liked.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. I want more of that. If more of the movie took place on stage, I think I'd be happy.
I feel like a good chunk of this movie takes place on stage.
If more of the emotional moments took place on stage and not just us watching a spectacle.
But I think it does happen. I think again, you get all those moments with Baptiste and then someone like Frederic, you see his like not being satisfied with being at on that first theater, and then him
that's great
and the more prestige theater doing Othello.
I want more of that. I don't want to be in a bar with that weirdo Lacenaire and his guys
I do.
throwing Baptiste out the window. Like I don't know.
I do though. I think it adds scope. I
like that beggar though. It does add scope. It is epic. I get it. It's like a long, big thing.
Yeah. I don't want it to just be confined to the theater.
I like the beggar guy.
Yeah, he's great. The guy that pretends to be blind.
Or
the guy that's
yes.
Okay, yeah.
He's from Rules of the Game.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. Now I'm like recognizing all these 30s French actors, 30s and 40s.
You're totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't realize it was the mom from Day in the Country?
No, I was like, she looks vaguely familiar, but I know. I really ride hard for that movie. But.
You know what else was hilarious? After they attempt to, that's another thing. Like, why did we need to see Lacenaire like try to steal money from this like money collector?
I don't know, to show what he's capable of.
I mean, I guess. Like, anyway, but like after that scene and they get away, they go to a bar and he orders brandy, but his helper orders hot chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
I died at that.
Yeah.
Listen, I like the movie a lot.
I wouldn't say 3.5 is a lot. I'd say you like it. And you think you're lukewarm on it.
It has very good things about it.
It's so interesting how this didn't come together. I mean, look, that's the beauty of art in general.
Yeah.
It means different things to different people, and one film someone can think it's the greatest thing ever. Not that I think this movie's necessarily the greatest thing ever, but like I think the whole package just works for me, and I think it's this
that's great.
Big staggering work. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
What's your favorite site?
My favorite site is the night just after Baptiste gets thrown out the window and he walks Garance home and he asks her, like, where are you going? She's like, oh, I don't have a home. Like, I live wherever.
Yeah.
And they're on the almost like a dock
Yeah.
or something, and they have their first kiss.
Starts to rain.
And in the first, it's not the rain. You think you know me, Jackie? It's not the rain. They have their first kiss, and Baptiste keeps his eyes slightly open during that first kiss.
Noticed that.
As if to make sure what's happening is real.
I noticed that.
And that was like...
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that perfectly sums up... Again, you get so much from that because he's obsessed with her. Again, he's not in love with her because he doesn't know her. He's just like bowled over by her beauty. And I think too, like the circumstance of meeting her on the boulevard and being this like... being able to tell the cops like...
And like saved her, yeah.
Yeah, like saved her. And I think it's, again, he's an actor. His emotions are big and swingy. And I think it's an obsession. And she's, again, and that night they are almost together until they're not. But
she's down that night.
Oh,
he
of
just
course.
like gets scared.
Yeah. Oh, God. I can really relate to just in my youth situations where I just like was not ready to take another step or whatever. And just... like when I was in school, finding out someone had a crush on me and I also liked them, but I would never let them know. And then I just let them slip away because I was too afraid to say anything.
Wow.
I don't think he's too afraid to make the move. I think it seems that way, which is why they don't have sex that night. I think it's more because he says later, it's that he wanted her to love him on his terms of like, she meant the world to him. And I think in that moment, Baptiste to her is only just this cute guy that's being nice to her.
Yeah.
And to Baptiste, he was like, no, I need her to like want me more than anything. And I think that's why he doesn't sleep with her that night.
No, totally. I get that.
What about you? Favorite site?
Okay. It's actually the morning of the duel, that like forest in the fog. I'm surprised you didn't pick this. And they're
I
in
went
like
for an emotional beat on this one.
Almost, and I went for visual. It's like silhouette almost. It's the two riders and then the director, whoever that guy is, like pacing back and forth, and they're just waiting for Frederic to get there.
Yeah, and he shows up on time too.
I love that site.
Yeah, it's great. It's moody.
It's beautiful. It's very like Edgar Allan Poe.
Totally.
Yeah. What about sound?
So I was between two, and this is funny. They're both lines by Garance.
Yeah.
The first one, she says, and this is when she's telling off Lassonere. She's like, your head's too hot for me, and your heart is too cold. I worry about drafts.
That's a great line.
As she kind of like walks away from him, she like laughs.
Let's hear it.
Vous avez la tête trop chaude pour moi, Pierre-François. Et le cœur trop froid. Je crains les courants d'air.
It's great. And then her second line that I really liked is when she's getting arrested. And she says, pack me off, careful, fragile, work of art. Use a bit of tact, please. You don't know who you're dealing with. Let's play that really quick.
Yeah.
On l'emballe. Et là, attention, hein. Fragile. Objet d'art. Du tact, hein, s'il vous plaît, de la délicatesse. Vous ne savez sans doute pas à qui vous avez affaire.
Again, it's just part of the self-mythologizing.
Those are great.
Those
are great.
So it's funny because I agree with you that like I don't think that she's this like fully fleshed out character. She's like she's the sun that everyone's orbiting around. But like those are some great lines.
They are.
Yeah. It's almost like she wants to be a film character. In fact, she would belong in Breathless. Like.
Yes. Sure.
Because she like knows she's a movie character.
Maybe.
Anyway, what's your favorite sound?
It's actually music. So this is during the pantomime where he's like...
We switched on this one.
I know. Where he's going to try to kill himself in the pantomime. And the song sounds like Hello, Young Lovers from The King and I. And I just really... It's beautiful. Here it is. It's
Nice.
just a nice music.
You know, I don't really like The King and I.
I
I
know
like
you
like 2
don't.
songs.
Some of the songs are really beautiful.
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah. Like
And-
Hello Young Lovers.
Yeah. Nice.
All right.
Pauline.
I know Pauline likes this.
How do you know?
It came up when I was doing my research.
Okay, yeah. So, Pauline Kael. Also, it was just revealed apparently that Tarantino's new movie is not going to be based on
I
Pauline
know at
Kael.
first it was said they said it was gonna be, and then
Well, I think it was just speculation because he's doing a movie called The Movie
Film
Critic or The Film
about
Critic or
a woman
something.
Film critic. So.
Yeah. But I would still I bet there's going to be some Pauline in it, but it's not going to be like Pauline Kael.
Nothing beats. Sorry, this is like a sidestep. Charlie Kaufman's "I'm Thinking of Ending Things." Do you remember when the Pauline book, she starts speaking through the Pauline book?
Yeah, it's the review of Woman Under the Influence.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, so Pauline Kael's review. She says, this lushly romantic creation, directed by Marcel Carné and written by Jacques Prévert, is a one-of-a-kind film, a sumptuous epic about the relations between theater and life. At first, it may seem a romance set in the Paris of Balzac. It turns into a comparison of dramatic modes. It includes at least 5 kinds of theatrical performance. And, encompassing these, it is a film poem on the nature and the varieties of love, sacred and profane, selfless and possessive.
I get it. Especially the whole selfless and possessive. Don't get any of the other ones. Even the Lacenaire one is interesting to me because he's all about I don't love anyone. And then if it's true that he actually killed that guy because of love for another person, sure, that's cool. Because this whole thing was my destiny is to have no attachments, be completely free. But then he kills someone and is waiting arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Because he says something else too about how he's going to die on the guillotine or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love his line actually when his helper guy is running off. He's like, I don't want to risk dying in the country. Lacenaire says that I'd rather die here.
Yeah. I'd much rather die in the country. If he gets his head chopped off, though, will it mess up his curls?
No, they'll be preserved forever.
They seem pretty gelled down.
Yeah.
But he puts a lot of product in that.
No, I get what Pauline's saying. I don't feel it as deeply.
Yeah. Fair. That's fair.
Letterboxd.
Okay, I have a 5-star review here. It just says, I don't know if this is true or not. Francois Truffaut himself once said, I'd give up all my films just to have directed Children of Paradise.
That's true.
Should alone tell you how good this is.
That's true.
Wow.
It kept coming up in all of my research.
Yeah, I like the movie. That statement's a little extreme.
I mean,
I think Truffaut has made films that I
love a lot.
Yeah.
2 stars. I was pretty exhausted when I saw this, but still, I think it counts as the most disappointing classic I've yet seen. It just reeked of tradition of quality to me, and I found its central female character too distant, opaque, and uninvolved to motivate the giant effort surrounding her. I did like the film's continued and thorough motifs of theater of life, of everyone performing, everything being a stage, everything an interpretation or a mask, and I also really liked Jean-Louis Barrault's tragic performance, even if the character is totally absurd.
Is he Baptiste? How is the character totally absurd?
I don't know. But I like what he said about... Never mind. You guys know how I feel.
I've got a 5-star here that just says, every time I sit down to write something, this is the story I want to tell.
Wow.
Sincerely, one of the best films I've seen. Love is so simple, to quote a phrase.
Wow. This one has a pun in it. 4 stars. Why was everyone and their mother lusting after Garance? Seriously, I do not see the appeal. Nazi spelled Nazi.
Oh boy. Because she's a beautiful woman, that's why. That's the appeal. She's unknowable and beautiful. I got a 3.5-star review here that says, I've seen so many describe this film as poetry. It's not. It's ordinary soap opera. Love triangle double up with just as hollow characters as Hollywood, and rather overrated considering how many call this one of the greatest films ever made. Disagree.
5.5 stars. A lugubrious pace and low-stakes plot don't detract from the near-perfect masterpiece that is Marcel Carné's Children of Paradise, perhaps both the most French and the most influential paragon of European cinema. Its DNA smattered all over many an American auteur whose only flaw is its central female character, the supposed object of many a man's fervent desire. That was all one sentence.
Oh my God.
That was just the most eloquent sentence on Letterboxd.
My God. I have one more here. It's half a star. You ever watch a film and think, how is this top 250? Did I miss something? Blackface, unreasonable length, boring characters, and I'll say it again, fucking blackface. I have previously reviewed other films that have blackface, and it's always something I feel the need to mention. Different era or not, it's something that should be mentioned and talked about. Just because it's the past doesn't mean we shouldn't judge for that, and also we should learn from the mistakes of the past. But that isn't the film's only fault, although it's a pretty fucking big one. I'm assuming they're referring to Frederick playing Othello. Okay, well, this is an absurd claim because literally this film is set in the 1830s. It's not like it's not like Carné cast a white person, put them in blackface, and they're a genuine character in the film. It's Frederick doing blackface because Othello, again, didn't Orson Welles also kind of do blackface? Because Othello is
Anthony
African.
Hopkins has done it.
It's an African character.
Othello.
And that's part of the theatrical tradition. So I'm going to say that's not a valid mark against the movie because it's literally portraying 1830s France and a white actor playing, it's not standing behind that.
Exactly.
So I think they missed the point. I think it's someone looking to get outraged about something and anything, maybe because they didn't like the movie.
Perhaps. This is my last one. 3 stars. When I watched 1945's Children of Paradise, I kept a running log of thoughts throughout the 3+ hour runtime to help me remember anything notable and, let's be honest, to stay focused. So they have a bunch, but I just want to read one. 5 minutes in and there's already a monkey on stilts. If the next 3 hours are anything like this movie's going to fly by.
Nope, it's not really like that.
What else? There's a few funny ones here. Frederick popping a bottle of champers saying, I have a duel at dawn is very chaotic. What's champers?
Champagne.
I know, but I've never heard that.
I've never heard that either.
Their lives are small, but their dreams are big. Harsh words coming from a mime.
Jesus. But he's the mime to end all mimes. Would you say that Charlie Chaplin has no ambition? He was the king.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chaplin, if you haven't heard our sister podcast, Behind the Slate, Aaron does a great job, and his first series was all about Chaplin.
Check it out.
Yeah, it is a great, very in-depth, multi-part series. Birth to death, Chaplin.
Amazing. A lot of pantomime.
A lot of pantomime in that career. Some would say...
the entire career.
Almost. Well, that was, what's the French title?
Les Enfants du Paradis.
Beautiful. That sounds like a menu item.
Yeah.
This is, look, we split a little on this one. I think it's basically a masterpiece. Maybe if not just short of one, and you're a little more lukewarm.
Yeah.
You know what, too? That's the beauty of the show. We recently got a listener comment. Someone DM'd us. And they said one of the things they liked about the show was that we frequently have different opinions. So
yeah. Would we say frequently? I'd say it's pretty even. It's
50-50.
The amount of times we agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
50-50.
I'd say it's 50-50.
Yeah.
It would be boring if we agreed all the time.
I agree.
No, you seem emotionally distraught. I'm not talking about... what was the movie? Contempt. I'm not talking about that episode. That aside, sometimes you feel distraught when we don't agree on a movie. You're like, oh my God, I'm so sad you didn't like this.
And it feeds your fire when I don't.
No, yeah, it's fun to have slightly different. Because I feel like we both like this movie. It's just that you are much more reserved.
I have a
in your
big
praise.
problem with it and you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. What can I say?
I'd watch it again.
Next week, the film is a big deal, Jackie. Not just because it's one of cinema's mightiest directors, that is Andrei Tarkovsky. But it's our second Andrei Tarkovsky. And one of his most famous, this is Andrei Rublev.
I'm so excited.
Which I believe was his second feature film. So we previously did Mirror. That was fall last year. I feel like we did Mirror. And this is our second Tarkovsky. So
wow. Is Ivan's Childhood on the list?
I don't think it is. It's a good movie. It doesn't deserve to be on the list. So yeah, this is a big deal. This movie's a really big deal. So if you haven't seen Andrei Rublev, check it out. Come back next week. Even if you've seen it, come back. We're going to do a great episode because it's one of Tarkovsky's mightiest masterpieces. Wow. Talk about the epic. 2 episodes in a row that are like 3+ hour movies.
Oh, it's 3+ hours?
Yeah. Or you know what? It might be just under 3 hours, but it's like approaching the same runtime.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
Massive.
Yeah, massive. So yeah, come back next week. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club, featuring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Postagian. Theme music by Andrew Cox. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to say hi, email us hello@seenandheardpod.com or visit our website, www.seenandheardpod.com.